On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we bring you the latest OU football news, and then Austin Stogner joins us to talk about his return to Oklahoma, and we give you our winners and losers of the week, where we honor Mike Leach. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, December 14th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games, with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of December, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Now recording this Wednesday morning. Please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment. Ted, how we doing, man? How we feeling?
Doing fantastic. Cannot complain. We've got some good OU stuff to talk about. I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm doing well. A lot of exciting news. Just been a bit of an emotional week when it comes to the college football world. Right. With the loss of Mike Leach, and we'll talk about that in winners and losers. We're gonna talk about the Oklahoma football stuff before that, but yeah, just some weird energy this week, man. I mean, it's just been it's been odd.
Yeah, it's tough. It's it's a weird time of the year. Obviously, there's a lot going on, and to get such bad news over the weekend, and then obviously through early part of the week, it's hard to really be super excited about a bunch of different things that are happening out there, because obviously you got such a heavy feeling that's just kind of lurking right there, such an important part of college football. But yeah, you just I guess you just press on.
Yep. All right, let's get to it. Most exciting news of the week: Dasan and Daeh McCullough have committed to Oklahoma. Dasan, 6'5", 225, 230-pound athlete, edge player, linebacker. I'm not entirely sure.
Right.
But this guy, he was a freshman All-American with a productive season at Indiana, and I think he was, you look at all these transfer portal rankings and all those things, he was the most coveted edge prospect in the transfer portal. And Ted, our guy Venables, was able to close the deal, man. He was able to get it done. This feels rather significant for Oklahoma football.
It is. This is big time. This is as soon as he steps foot on campus, starter, ready to go, maybe one of the best, maybe the best defensive player on the football team next year. He's got development things that he needs to do, obviously, add more weight and strength to that frame, continue to sharpen the skills. But this is one of the good things about the transfer portal is you take the guesswork out of it. I mean, I guess there's always going to be some guesswork, but you've seen a kid and what he could do at the college level, see how he plays within schemes that you see at the college level, the spacing, the different, it's way different rushing the passer in college than it is in high school. In high school, you run around the corner of a tackle that's usually like 230 pounds, right? So it's just a totally different game. And you've been able to see that he can do that, and even as a freshman, thrive. So he's going to be ready to go right out of the gate. This is a massively important commitment signing for Oklahoma football and our defense, no doubt.
And I thought some of the things he said about why he chose Oklahoma were pretty damn significant, man. I mean, some of the quotes I saw, wrote this one down. Coach Venable's defensive mind really got my attention. How he develops linebackers just like me in an NFL scheme, and more important, he has created a championship culture around the program. Right? We knew that defensive recruiting was going to ramp up once you gave Venables some time, right? With how many players he's put in the NFL. But the part of that quote that stood out to me, created a championship culture around the program. That's after they just went 6-6.
Yep.
So, I mean, you talk about if you've ever wondered how good of a recruiter is Venables, how good is he at selling his vision and what Oklahoma football is going to be to recruits. You got a guy who was getting recruited by everybody out of the portal, talking about the championship culture at Oklahoma after a 6-6 season. Like, that's how good BV is when it comes to talking to these guys. It's pretty damn impressive, man.
It's impressive. Yeah. You know, he's obviously, I'm sure, playing on the kind of reset, right? And what we focused on, like the winning is going to come. Like, we're focusing on building the culture and building the foundation. And I believe in that. I believe in the championship culture. And it's easy whenever you've got Isaiah Simmons, who looks just like this kid, and you can show him all the different ways that you used him and how exciting that is, and being able to use that as a recruiting pitch. So yeah, that it's big time to be able to land, you know, this recruiting class and some of these transfer guys after a 6-6 season. It's impressive for sure.
It is. And, you know, some of the pictures of Dasan and Daeh, like in full pads, right on the visit, you can see there's plenty of frame to add. I mean, there's plenty. He's got the frame that you can add weight, muscle, like whatever. I'm so interested to see what position they focus on with him. And I know that kind of in your dream world, that he could just be like a chess piece that you put at all kinds of spots. But with how complicated things are, where do you think they'll start him off? Because you would assume Venables would want him to get comfortable at one position before he really expands that role for him.
Yeah. Well, what I envision, and I talked to Coach Venables about him briefly back before this is I don't even think transfer. It was a while back, and right, what I envision is, right. So here's the thing with the cheetah position, because of the way the defense adjusts, the cheetah position, just depending on what formation you get, can be a linebacker in the core. It can be a backer in the slot. It can be a deep third safety. It could be an edge rusher. So there's a lot of things in the cheetah position based off formation and how they adjust to it, that just playing one position can get. Like most of the stuff that you heard about with Isaiah Simmons about how they play him at safety and how they'll play him at corner. Well, that was just like the cheetah position and how they adjust, right? I mean, we remember plenty of times we saw Deshaun White playing the middle third safety, right, this year as the cheetah. So with that position comes all kinds of versatility. So what I would expect is that he's the cheetah, and then if you want to go like a straight 4-man rush on third down, he would bump in as an edge, and you bring in a specialized third and long cheetah. That's what I would envision.
Yeah, I do wonder, and I know that the 2023 season is a ways off. I understand that, but I do wonder with him now being in the mix, what does that mean for where they play Canic? What's that mean for Stutzman? Like, how are those pieces all going to fit together? Because I know this about Venables. He's going to get his best guys on the field. Now he's going to get his best guys on the field that he trusts to make all the proper adjustments and to play, gap sound and technically sound football. But now you've got some serious talent, right? So some talent when you look at just what's going to be in that linebacker room, because remember that cheetah position is lumped into that linebacker room. So yeah, it's exciting to think about how all of that could fit together.
Yeah. It is interesting. I think I think they'll probably still bring in maybe a guy or two at inside backer through the portal if they can, and add some depth and competition to that spot. I think that we've seen Canic play inside backer. I think he played Mike a handful of times throughout the season. So all of those guys are going to be trained there. So I imagine that Canic and Kobe McKenzie will be in the rotation at the inside backer stuff with, Aguebu and Stutzman and those other guys. You should get, why am I drawing a blank? Shane Witter back in. He'll be back after, I think he had a shoulder surgery, so he'll be back in the spring. I think there'll be a vibrant competition at inside backer, but I still think that Canic will be training and getting time at cheetah as well, because like I said, I could envision them moving him and playing McCullough at like a true edge in pass rushing situations, and maybe that Canic can come out and be your cheetah in that role, or maybe in some traditional down and distances they do play McCullough at more of just like a stand-up edge type of guy, and you can still have a cheetah in Canic out there. So, and Canic, here's the thing, he still has a long way to go. Now, it's not like, okay, there's someone gone, he just naturally steps in, and he's still just coming off his freshman year. Got a lot of football to continue to learn and gain experience.
Yeah, but I feel like Dasan McCullough is as excited, a prospect has made this fan base is about as excited as I can remember in a while. So
yeah,
and with that comes some high expectations for him, but sure. It is what it is, man.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is, usually if you get a 5-star prospect, there's like this long waiting period, right? You wait for them to show up, and then they get there, and it's, oh, well, he's a freshman, he's got to learn. And then there's this process to where maybe 2 years down the road, you're starting to see like these moments where, okay, that's why we brought him here. Well, this is like getting a 5-star that is already like trained and ready to go. Like it's already all happened. So, and I don't know what he was out of high school, like probably a 4-star kid or something.
I think he's like the highest ranked recruit in the history of Indiana football or something like that.
That's not a shock, but that's the great thing is like he's ready to go. It's there, it's done, and it's played in most defenses are similar in like 80% of what they do are similar. So he will have a very good basic understanding of what we do, just having gained that general college football knowledge.
Yeah. And one guy, clearly Venables, and selling the vision, and what he's done with linebackers in the past was a huge part of Dasan McCullough's recruitment and ultimately him choosing Oklahoma. But I think Jay Valai deserves a lot of credit. And Jay Valai is a guy that you and I really like, right? The dude has energy. He clearly knows where the weight room is, but he coached with the McCullough brothers' dad in Kansas City. They were on that staff together. So I think Valai, that relationship, his infectious energy, infectious personality, like he's just a fun guy to be around. I mean, the guy's got juice. So I don't think we can talk about Oklahoma landing these guys without giving Valai some credit, because it seems like he played a rather significant role as well.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting. Yeah, you mentioned Jay Valai coached with their dad. You know, their dad was at Indiana for a long time, and then he went to the Chiefs. Did he go somewhere else before that? And then came back to Indiana for 1 year before going to Notre Dame. And a lot of Notre Dame fans just thought that it's natural that Dasan is going to go where his dad is at Notre Dame, and also bring the 4-star little brother that's committed to Cincinnati since they lost their coach. And they're not happy that all of a sudden they've gone to Oklahoma, especially whenever there's a lot of links between their last 5-star commitment and Oklahoma as well in Peyton Bowen. So this is payback for the play like a champion today theft that Notre Dame had with Oklahoma.
Karma, Golden Domers. This is what you get. Now, let's talk a little bit about Daeh. Just 6'2", 200 pounds. Just seeing the pictures from his visit, clearly a lot of length. Right now, there's no doubt Jerry Schmidt is going to have, when he gets on campus, Jerry Schmidt is going to have this guy eating a lot and lifting a lot. There's no doubt about it. But I know most of the excitement's about his brother, and I completely understand that. But I'm certainly interested in how this guy is going to develop, right? Because he's got the frame, he's got the length you want in a defensive back, and you just look at his brother and you're like, okay, can he get to a similar weight to what he's at right now? And maybe he ends up as a cheetah, or as, maybe more of a true nickel. Like it's going to be interesting to see how he develops and ultimately where he ends up. But love what he said about the coaches, quote, blew him away their knowledge of the game. So that is, that's always good to hear. But yeah, while all the attention's on Dasan, I'm certainly interested in to see where Daeh ends up.
I agree. And we're starting to get a really talented safety room that's got a lot of size in there. Daeh's 6'2". There's talks of perhaps getting Peyton Bowen in there. We saw Robert Spears-Jennings doing some things. Key Lawrence has some nice size to him.
Billy Bowman's not the biggest guy, but
right.
he makes up for the lack of height with explosiveness and like being dynamic. You know what I mean? Like
that's right. And it's really exciting. Makari Vickers is coming in is a stud. So that safety room there's some talent in there, and they need to first of all finish the season off right, and then big off season for that room.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Our guy, Brayden Willis, got invited to the Senior Bowl, Ted. Let's go.
Love it.
Brayden Willis accepts an invite to the Senior Bowl, and thank God, because this dude he's been fantastic. If you listen to this podcast, you know how big of a fan we are of Brayden Willis and how he's gone about his business this season. The dude absolutely deserves it. He has earned the right to go show what he can do against the best in college football there in Mobile, and just a fantastic season for him on the field. I've been even more impressed with what he's done as a leader off the field, with how many rough patches there have been throughout the season. I think he's been the vocal guy that has really held everyone accountable. And it's been huge. But guy played his ass off, really helped his draft stock, and now has the chance to help it even more, Ted, with a week in Mobile. So I was so excited to see that.
Yeah, and I think he's going to thrive at at the Senior Bowl, man. It's basically a week of training camp and then like a game at the end of it. And I think it fits his skill set really well. Like the large focus on blocking in a bunch of different situations that he has. I think that's going to be awesome. One-on-ones, pass rush. I don't know if they'll probably play him at fullback some, so maybe he'll get some one-on-ones with backers. The route running stuff, like that's, everyone's going to be able to do that, but I think he's going to really be able to show his strengths doing some of the other, like the drill stuff, right? It just fits perfectly with his skill set. So I think it should be really good for him.
Yeah. And him getting this invite and accepting that invite leads to a very real conversation, right? Because we've seen all the other guys, as far as we know, that got invited to the Senior Bowl and have accepted that invite. They are not playing in the bowl game, right? Eric Gray, Wanya Morris, Jalen Redmond have all said, hey, not playing in the bowl game. We're getting ready for the Senior Bowl. I hope Brayden plays, but maybe this is the best way I'll put it. And remember, after that Tech game, he left in a boot, right? He injured his foot, and I don't know the status of that foot. I'm not trying to put his business out there, but it is, that's a factor. Going and playing the Senior Bowl is a factor. I want him to play in the bowl game. But damn it, Teddy, I'm going to be nervous the entire game for him. And I shouldn't be. It's football. Everyone knows the risks, but he doesn't seem like a guy that would opt out at all. Like he doesn't, but I'm going to be a wreck for him. Like every time he touches the ball, every time he's going against one of those backers on his own insert, like all that stuff, I'm just going to be like, But I'm not saying he should opt out, man, but
we'll see. I think that
I'll say this. I think if his foot is right, if he's comfortable with where his foot is at, he's going to play. I just don't know the status of it.
I think he should play. And I'll tell you why. What is going to be the main thing that every coach says to the NFL guys that are calling and asking about him? It's going to be the leadership, the way he's practiced, the way he's played, the consistency he's brought every day, the work ethic he's brought every day. I would say like that's going to be his. He's not going to be the biggest tight end out there. He's not going to be the strongest, but this is his best attribute that the coaches are going to be talking about. He could do all the other things. I'm not saying that he can't, but the reason you want him on your team is because of the way that he plays and approaches the game. And by playing this thing out and seeing it through, in my opinion, reinforces that. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that this is the only way. It's just, in my opinion, I think that's how he strengthens that resolve and backs up what the coaches are going to say to him or about him, rather.
I'm with you. And one of the things, like he's missed a lot of games due to injury. Mm-hmm. Maybe playing a game when you're a little banged up is a good message to send to NFL teams as well. But I'm just going to be nervous, man. I just wanted to get through it clean. For him.
There's going to be good opportunities in that game, blocking and playing against some other, top talented players. So we'll see. I'll be nervous for him too. I hope he's not nervous though. You know what happens when you're nervous, right? And you go out there and you just kind of play tentative, cut it loose.
I would be shocked if he played tentative because it hasn't mattered what the score was, what the situation was. That dude is flying around on the field all season long. So excited for Brayden Willis, but just a little nervous. A little nervous for him in the Cheez-It Bowl, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay, last thing when it comes to the OU football stuff, and maybe we'll get our buddy Brett McMurphy back on the podcast to go into some deeper detail about this, but he reported for the Action Network that there is momentum for OU in Texas to leave the Big 12 and join the SEC in 2024. Now, that article also said that there are many obstacles, but, quote, the climate is right for it to happen. So, what do we think, Ted? OU and Texas to the SEC in 2024? That's what I've been saying all along, right? Because of how the TV deals match up. But what do we think?
Yeah, it looks like that's the way it's going. And I know, like, this is the first time we've seen like a real report out there. And I know I know there's not like sources quoted in there like Joe Castiglione and people like that, but this is the first real report, and you know that he's getting this information from somewhere. And for the most part, the mantra has been OU and Texas plan to play all the way through their contract with the Big 12, which, you know, the Big 12 has brought in 4 teams. They've negotiated a new media rights deal that's going to pay them more money than they make now. The college football playoff is expanding in 2024. They don't want OU or Texas to take any of their spots in that expanded playoff. They have no reason to hold Oklahoma and Texas into the current contract. They are going to be at least financially and competitively within the teams, they are going to be in a much better position when OU and Texas are gone. So I don't know why they would hold them to that. I know they would probably try and squeeze some money out of them, but I just, there's no way that the Big 10, the Big 12 has added their teams, and Oklahoma and Texas are still stuck in purgatory. I just don't see that happening.
I'm with you, but the only thing that makes it complicated for me is Fox, right? I feel like Fox is the biggest issue in this entire thing because they have the Big 12 rights now, and they are involved in the Big 12's new media rights agreement. While the SEC rights in 2024, it's all ESPN, ABC, like the ESPN family of networks. So how is that all going to work? Right? There's been, some suggestions that, maybe OU and Texas play some away games against Big 12 teams in 2024. That's not going to happen. I can't imagine that happening. Like, oh, hey, yeah, you want to play some away games against Big 12 teams and then play your full SEC schedule? Like, no, that's just not reality. So how does Fox get made whole in all of this? That's an interesting conversation for sure.
Well, I'm sure it was probably part of the negotiation for the expanded playoff, right? Because it's not just going to be an ESPN thing. Isn't Fox going to have?
As far as I know, there's been no information about, because they're expanding early, but they haven't negotiated the new television contract for the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So
it sounded like they wanted it to be like a multiple network deal. Like that was how it was going to get done. But
I think the college football playoff and, the leaders that are managing that, I think they think it should be like the NFL playoffs.
Right.
Right. And that would make a lot of sense. And we just saw the Big 10, right, with their new media rights deal, do something similar with a bunch of different networks. So I just think that there are certainly some things in the way, but it feels like everyone that's involved wants it to happen.
Yeah.
But
I guess
Fox
it's like
wants OU and Texas on their network, right? Because of the ratings that they do. So they're not just going to say, oh, yeah, go ahead, leave in 2024 when you were supposed to play on our network and go play on ESPN. Like, something's got to happen to where Fox is happy with whatever agreement they land on.
But it's somewhat of a trade, isn't it? That Fox isn't going to have OU and Texas, but they're gaining USC and UCLA.
They are gaining, but I don't know how all of the
It's not
all of the
totally
mechanics
exclusive.
of that work, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like, because you
Yep.
have the drafts and all those different things. But I hear you because, and that was one of the main reasons that I said OU and Texas, I thought OU and Texas were going to be in the SEC in 2024 is because Greg Sankey and ESPN, the SEC, like they're not going to let the Big Ten get all of those headlines in 2024 by themselves. They're just not. They were going to do whatever it would take to have the SEC as a 16-team league there in 2024. So I just don't know if every obstacle can be overcome. And then you have this, which is kind of a bigger picture view, right? ESPN, with the way that I understood it, if OU and Texas are at it in 2024, ESPN, there's like a pro rata clause in there where they still have to pay each school the amount of money that they have agreed upon in that contract. So they would be paying OU and Texas the same amount as the other schools, which would mean they're just spending more money overall, right? Well, ESPN, or I guess Disney just brought Bob Iger back to be the CEO because their earnings report was so terrible and stockholders were so upset. So how does that factor into what ESPN wants to spend? Right. So that's a bigger picture thing with, Disney as a whole. I know they got the parks and all that. They got a lot going on. Right. But there are some people that cover like just the media space in general that think that Disney should just get rid of ESPN. So I don't know. I don't know if Iger coming back as CEO factors into anything, but it's just another obstacle, right, to this getting done.
Which, there's quite a few folks out there that think they brought Bob Iger back to facilitate the sale of Disney to Apple. So yeah, there's a ton of moving parts there. I don't know. It's interesting. There's going to be more bad earnings coming through in the future. It looks like for just the economy as a whole. I would think that live sports broadcast is probably where they're going to be focused. If you want to trim the fat, buddy, let me show you a list at ESPN on how we can trim the fat. It is really easy. They pay so much money to so many personalities, in my opinion, that aren't even needed. But I don't know. I still think it's going to happen, but you're right. There's plenty of roadblocks there that if any one person along that list wants to dig in, it could make things difficult.
Yeah. We'll continue to monitor the situation. I feel like we've said that quite a few times. All right, let's get to our interview with our man Austin Stogner. But first, birthday shout outs. Happy 12th birthday to Garrett G. Bear Hollingsworth. Let's go.
Happy 12th birthday to Cash Money Williams.
Happy 50th birthday to Sabrina Thompson.
Happy 77th birthday to Jim Howard.
And happy birthday to Michelle Salas. Salas? Nice. Nailed it. Either one. It's got to be one of the two, All right, let's talk to Big Stogner. But first, the only place to stop when you're road tripping is Love's Travel Stops. Love's has over 600 locations in 41 states, offering 24-hour access to clean and safe places. Whatever your road trip needs are, Love's has it. Fuel, fresh food, all the snacks and drinks, including, yes, my favorite, Java Amore. The coffee is fantastic. Love's also says you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones. They've expanded their mobile to-go zone so you can grab any of that stuff there. Make sure you download the Love's Connect app for exclusive offers from today's most popular brands. The Love's Connect app also includes a route planner and store locator. When you see that red neon heart on the highway, stop in and say hi at Love's Travel Stops. For a full list of what Love's has to offer, visit loves.com.
Annapolis Clothing is the exclusive home for all of our Oklahoma Breakdown merchandise. If you want to live your life in buttery soft comfort, go to opolisclothing.com. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off your entire order. You still get a discount on all the OU and OKC Thunder gear as well. It's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
And Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, students prepare to meet their potential with an individualized academic path that strives for success. Bishop McGinnis's offers include a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, where they've won over 100 state championships, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Remember, financial aid is available. All right, here's Austin Stogner. It is our pleasure to be joined by a former and current Sooner. Austin Stogner's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Big
Thank y'all for
Stog,
having
what's
me.
going on, man?
Nothing much. Thanks y'all. Thank you for having me.
Well,
What's it been like? What, like wrapping up the season? I mean, it's been busy for you over the last couple of weeks, to say the least.
Yeah, no, it's been busy. For sure. It's been crazy. I was talking to someone the other day and I'm like, yeah, I told you that like 2 months ago. And she's like, my girlfriend, she's like, no, you told me that like 2 weeks ago. And so it's been crazy how like it's all been going so fast, feels so long, but it's been a short amount of time.
yeah. Okay. Before we, talk about why you're coming back and that let's go back to why you left in the first place. Right. And clearly a lot was going on at the end of last season, with Coach Riley leaving, everything that was happening. So I think a lot of fans are just curious, like, why did you make that initial decision to transfer from Oklahoma?
Like you said, that time was just like so crazy, so much turnover in a short amount of time. And, I just tried to make the best decision for myself. And I felt like that was, coming off of, like, I've been in that air raid system. So I wanted to, I was like, I need to go, if I want to make my name for myself at the next level, I have to get, better at blocking. And I thought, why not go to a pro style system and, kind of get thrown in the fire a little bit there so I can get, better at blocking, because I knew I'd need that at the next level. And then it just made a lot of sense for me to go with Coach Beamer. I knew him. I had, I played with him for 2 years and I loved playing for him. And it just made a lot of sense to go there. And so that's really what it came down to, was those things. And yeah, so.
How was the offense? Was it what you thought? A little bit more pro style, maybe a little bit more inline blocking. Was it what you thought it was going to be, and were you able to develop those skills that you were hoping to?
Oh yeah, I was able to develop those skills. I got a lot better at it. You get thrown in and playing in the SEC and stuff, and so I was able to grow as like a player and as like a person. So, it was a really great experience at South Carolina. They're great people there, and I'm grateful for them. And I really like that place. And so it was a good experience.
You are, I'm sure you'll understand, until OU gets to the SEC, South Carolina is kind of my SEC team because of Coach Beamer. We've had him on the podcast many times now, and he's one of the most likable people ever. And he's a hell of a football coach. What was it like playing for him when he's the head coach, right? You played, he was your tight ends coach. That's completely different though than when he's the head man. Like, how different was it?
It was a little bit different, you're in his meetings like every day as like your position coach. And then, all of a sudden you're sitting in a team meeting and he's up there and you're kind of just like, what are you doing up there? Like, whatever. But, he was really cool to play for. He's a great coach, and, he gets the best out of his players, and he really cares for them. And they're going to do a lot of great things there.
Now, you mentioned, playing in the SEC. What was it like? Especially you're blocking some mutants there on the edge, man. They've got some massive edge players, and I'm sure you saw a bunch of really good ones. What was the difference? And is that part of like your development, was playing against some of those type of guys?
Yeah, you always hear like, in the Big 12, it's like, oh, it's not the SEC. But in reality, it's like it's very similar. Maybe the interior guys are a little bit bigger, a little bit more athletic. But as far as like skill position wise, it's kind of like across the board from like anywhere. Skill positions like DBs and all that stuff are pretty much the same. Receivers maybe a little bit bigger, but defensive wise, the DBs and whatever are just about the same. Just maybe the interior linemen are a little bit bigger, but it wasn't too crazy of a jump.
Well, how about that? Some people are going to be shocked to hear that. Now, Spencer Rattler, it was an interesting conclusion to his time at Oklahoma, kind of an up and down season for him in his first year at South Carolina. What was it like playing with Spencer there in the SEC, new team, like completely new cast of characters around you guys?
It was for sure cool to see how like him grow and like learn the offense, and just kind of like talking, like being able to like to talk through stuff with him, being like, hey, like, I kind of knew like what he like, since I've known him for so long, I know what he like likes and like what he needs, like when he's playing the best, like his mentality for that. And so like just kind of, being there for him, just being like, hey, dude, just go out there and just freaking do what you do best and rip the ball. And so it was cool to see that and see him grow throughout the season, and then obviously play really, really well in the last 2 games.
Man, it looks like there's a ton of excitement there. Like the atmosphere at the home games looks like is just incredible. Now, they've always had a good fan base, but the last couple of years has given them a lot of reason for hope for the future. What was it like playing there?
They do a really good job in their stadium of getting it going, because that Willie B, that place gets jumping. So it was a really cool environment to play at, and so yeah, they do a really good job there. The fans are crazy, like you want them, so they do a good job.
How much fun was that Tennessee game? Obviously, we weren't there. We were just watching it on television, but it was a beatdown. And that place, the stadium looked like it was just going insane.
Yeah, that thing was about to come loose. That thing was jumping, but it didn't. That game didn't get as loud as when we took the opening kickoff back against Texas A&M. That was the loudest I've ever heard a stadium. That place was going crazy. I had family there, and they were like sitting up top, and they said that like the whole stadium was shaking. They thought it was about to come down.
Yeah, it was pretty wild watching some of those games with you guys this year. I hate to just sit here and compare it, but one of the things that makes me mad is I get mad whenever I go places and I see what I consider to be a better in-stadium atmosphere. I wish we were more consistent at Oklahoma in some, and it takes, like, the situation always matters, right? Like if you're a team that's on the rise and you're hosting big, teams that are higher ranked than you, but how did the two compare? Is it, and I know you probably don't want to get into, maybe you don't want to get into that either, but like, what was it like in comparison to what you saw at Oklahoma?
Like you said, it's like different, because like at Oklahoma, you're always like the higher rate. I can't remember when we were like at home and we were the underdogs. So it's like
that you can't remember because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it never happens. Exactly. So it's just different. Yeah, but they both go crazy and they both get wild. Like third down at Oklahoma is loud, and third down at South Carolina is loud, but it's just like a little bit different,
They're the South Carolina fans just seem a little drunker than the OU fans.
Yeah, I mean, they might be because they get the 7:00 kickoffs,
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Now I will say, and I'm not sure if you were able to see it, like able to watch any OU games. I know you were playing on Saturdays. They are working on the in-game atmosphere, like the in-game entertainment, and actually the Bedlam game, like the last home game of the year, they did a really good job. So that's on the upswing.
On the rise.
Stog. It's on the upswing.
Yeah.
Now, one question I do have, I love rivalries. I think it's one of the things that makes college football the best sport on the planet. How does OU Texas compare to what you experienced in South Carolina versus Clemson?
Like I've been a fan for Oklahoma since I committed like junior year of high school. And so I've been a fan for so long. So like I kind of know the Oklahoma Texas rivalry. And so for me, like everyone like talks about like the Clemson South Carolina rivalry. And like, I just don't know. I didn't know like the history of it, like how big of a deal like it was. So for me, like it just like that's like part of the reason like I'm coming back is just because like the connection I have with Oklahoma and like I miss those big games, miss the rivalry. Like I know like I have connection like with the fan base in that university and like take pride in that university. So like just because I've been a fan for since I was a junior in high school. So that's like it just was different. But like that's like obviously like a huge rivalry, but it was just like for me, it was just like different.
Yeah.
Coming in there 1 year, like not really knowing.
Not knowing the backstory and
Yeah, exactly.
like, 'cause it's almost like it's like an ongoing soap opera, right? You have to know the backstory if you're just gonna all of a sudden show up and watch it for once. I understand that.
Yeah.
So how long have you known that maybe you wanted to come back to Oklahoma? Or was it you just wanted to get into the portal and see what happens? Like how did that whole thought process go?
It was after the Clemson game where I was kind of like talking to my position coach and Coach Beamer and being like where my position is, like going into the draft and whatever. And it was like, but the last couple of weeks, I'm like, this could be my last time playing football, like because like nothing is guaranteed at the next level. And I was talking to a couple of my buddies, and I'm like, dang, it's like crazy. This is our last go around, and I'm like, I don't want it to be. Like I love football too much for me to have another year and like not play football, because like in 20 years I'll look back at it and be like, dang, I wish I would have played that season just because, I loved it so much. And I'm like, I just want to play. And then going through that process, I'm like, why do I love it? And I was like, I want to play. I want to go back to Oklahoma and play. And so I kind of like went to the portal, and then like once my name was live, I called my buddy. I was like, you got to set me up. I got to come back, and hopefully they take me. And then Coach Venables showed enough grace for me to come back. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, it's I mean, we were all extremely fired up when the rumor mill started a churning, man. And
yeah.
what was I assume you got on the phone with Joe John, with Coach Finley, and
Mm-hmm.
what were those conversations like? Was it just like, hey man, I want to come back? Like, you got a spot for me? Like, was it that simple?
Yeah, like I called my buddy and I was like, you got to set me up. And he went in there, and apparently he was like, this isn't the time to joke around. Like, you can't do whatever. And he called me. And when I got in, he was like, are you for real? And I was like, yeah. And then he like tried to go, and like every coach has like their like recruiting spill. Like, hey, we're going to use you a lot. I'm like, coach, I'm good. I'm coming back. Like it wasn't, I don't
You don't
need
have to tell me.
anything. Yeah,
Just give me a yes or no.
Yeah.
What Coach Beamer say?
I kind of told him like the reasons why I was leaving. He was like, I'd love for you to stay. Like you'll have an amazing opportunity here. But I totally get it. So he was cool. He just wants like the best first players. Like obviously he wants the best first program, but I kind of told him it wasn't like a conversation like get me this, get me that. I was just like, look, I have to go. I have to go back.
That's, I mean, if anyone, I've always felt that Coach Beamer is like the ultimate, like puts his players before anything type of guy. And I think Venables is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
What did you have many conversations with Venables leading up to your commitment? Because I'm so interested in what he had to say.
I just had one conversation with him, like an hour after I went in the portal, I was like, yeah, the U-Haul is coming today. I'll be there tomorrow. And I ended up not going, but I was there that Friday. But he was like, you didn't, like, when I came in, like, you didn't know me from like a guy on the street. And I was like, yeah, like, what, like, I didn't like say no to him. He's like, you didn't know me. You thought you were trying to do what's best for you. And I told him the reasons why I was wanting to come back. And he was like, those are the reasons, like, we want people here at Oklahoma, like guys like that. So that's basically how the conversation went.
Well, I don't know. It's whenever Venables came in, obviously, like, that probably didn't have anything to do with you leaving. But what was it like whenever you left, and then seeing the season and the struggles that they had this year, go with 6-6? Like, what was that like? And maybe, I'm sure you still had some friends on the team. Like, what were those guys saying? Like, how did that whole thing play out for you?
Like, it just didn't like feel right for me. Like, playing there, like, I'd watch them on the game, like watch them on TV. Like, I watched every game, and I was like, I just
Felt like you should have been there helping.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I felt like I loved where I was at South Carolina. I felt like that's where the Lord was calling me, but I just didn't feel like right there, like, with it, just because of the connection I have to Oklahoma. Like, I graduated from Oklahoma, and it just didn't feel right. I felt like I should have been there, like, huge, like, FOMO, fear of missing out. So
Yeah, the 6-6 record, it was all your fault, Stogner.
I know, it's my bad.
Yeah, just apologize to the fans, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, my bad.
But were you able? You mentioned that able to watch a bunch of the games. Were you surprised by the type of season Brayden Willis had? Right, man, because he was the most consistent player on the team, whether it was catching the ball, but certainly as a blocker. Like, he really stepped it up. Were you surprised that he was able to have the type of season that he had?
No, I mean, he's an unbelievable guy who, like, works, like, super hard, and is a team first guy, and he's a great leader, and he's always been a great leader in that tight end room. Is always, like, pushing us to be the best, and he's like a horse. Like, he works his tail off, and so it was really great to see him have a great season, and so I was really, really happy for him.
Now, whenever Coach Finley was talking to you about the ways they wanted to use you, and I'm sure maybe you've had conversations with Levy or some of the other guys, like, what is, like, kind of the vision for your role going to be in this offense whenever you hear it from the coach's perspective?
To kind of use me, like, in space. They're like, you're athletic, so we want to get you out in space running routes, and like, get you in line blocking because of your length, and it suits me better, but also be able to insert on backers and use me in the backfield, and but get me out in space and let me run routes and let me create mismatches on the
Wildcat
outside.
like they put Brayden at quarterback a couple of times.
Yeah, maybe. I guess so.
We'll have to come up. We'll have to come up with Stogcat, Wild Stog.
Yeah. I guess I was always like, you always think about like cool names, and you're like 18 wheeler. You hear a song, but I might not be 18 anymore, so you never know.
Oh yeah, that is. So what is?
Oh yeah, I bet your parents are pissed.
Oh man,
because they already have all the jerseys, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they don't have any jerseys, but I've been 18 for so long, I might have to go to 81, maybe.
81. There you go.
That might be the move.
Well, Trayvon West entered the portal. He was 81, so he's, that should be open.
Yeah,
but
maybe 81.
Or is this a situation? Is Helms 18, the other tight end?
Yeah.
This could be an NFL situation, Ted. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, he's coming. Vet's coming back. How much for the number? Type of situation on our hands.
Yeah, let me take you out to the ranch for the number.
Yeah. How much does 18 mean to you?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's like, listen, you're a freshman, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
No, you can't do that.
It's just how it goes.
There's I was talking to the equipment guy, Larry. I was like, what number are you gonna put me in? Like, trying to fill him out. He's like, yeah, I'm probably going to put you in 99. I was like, okay, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. Sweet number. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, this is, and I haven't heard you really talk about this, but it's something that we've brought up when it happened. Like, how scary was the leg thing, man? Because it seemed like it got to a really scary point. Like, maybe you don't want to talk about it, maybe you don't want to relive that stressful time in your life, but I mean, how bad did that actually get?
It got really bad. I mean, when I went in the hospital, like I remember that drive, like going to the hospital, like with Chris Watson at like 12 o'clock. And that was like the most pain I've ever been in my life. Like that was terrible. Like I remember like thinking that we were going to this one hospital that I saw like closer to Moore. And then when he passed that, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like I'm in so much pain. And he's talking to the doctor, and I'm like, when I get there, like you got to knock me out. Like this is terrible. And then so that happened. That like went on for like 3 days of like terrible pain. Like the doctor would come in, and like if I didn't move it, it was fine. And then the doctor would come in, and he had to like feel my leg, and he'd like press on it, and I would just get like super mad because like it would hurt so bad. But it got bad. Like I lost like 35 pounds in 10 days. Like couldn't like came out, like couldn't do a push-up. Like my body was like totally messed up. And I didn't realize like how long it'd take me to get back from that injury. Like my whole body was just kind of just messed up.
Are you back? Like what it did take a long time to get all your strength back, and I'm sure confidence. I'm sure like in the back of your head, like it's like you don't want to take a hit and perhaps something else like that happen. And so probably took a while to get mentally back into it. But like where you at weight wise, are you back and even like beyond where you were previously? So how's that whole rehab gone?
I think in 2021, like when I got back from the injury, like made it back for the bowl game, came back, and then that spring, like I just had like pain throughout the whole thing. I couldn't like really do anything workout wise, like lower body. Like I'd work out, like I went through spring practice, and then I'd practice one day, and then the next day like I'd be in crutches, and then it'd be like 3 days, and then I'd try to practice again, and then I'd just like totally mess. Like it would hurt so bad, like could barely walk. So I didn't really have like a spring practice. And then the summer, like I had to take it easy, take it light, because it would just like flare up sometimes. But then, so I finally got right before like fall camp, but like I thought I was back. And then like I look at film from back then, and I'm like, yeah, I wasn't back at all. I think, but then after the bye week, Baylor week, I started moving a little bit better. And that's when I think I started to, get back. And then that off season. So I think I'm definitely now I had a good off season, and now I'm back to moving the way I think as good as I can. And I think I'm better. I'm up faster than I was. I'm a lot stronger. And so I think I've gotten a lot better, and I'm 100% back. I'm better than I was.
Dude, that's great to hear. Man, that was some scary shit, man. I mean, it was, but it's glad. I'm really glad to hear that you're feeling all the way back. Have you talked to Jerry Schmidt at all? You familiar? You acquainted yet?
Yeah, I've heard the rumors, but yeah, I've had some buddies. I talked to him. I was up there this weekend to kind of like move some stuff in, and I talked to him for a little bit, and he was like, "Let's get rolling." But I've heard some crazy stories about him, so I'm ready to roll.
Gonna be exciting, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you back. And we need you too. Like the experience, like you're gonna have to come in and be a leader in that room right away. There's a bunch of youth in there, and I don't know, maybe someone else is going to be coming in, but this is going to be a big opportunity, man. We're happy to have you back.
No doubt. I'm super excited to be back, and thank y'all for taking me back.
Yeah, we did. We totally did it. Now the fans, exactly. I'm sure there's some salty fans out there, but after you explaining how much you love Oklahoma, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're going to be more accepting now. Stogner. Now we do this thing on our podcast called Call Your Shot. Now, normally it's like the listeners send in something, we discuss it, like whether it's a bold prediction, something like that. But instead of doing that, we ask them for questions for you. So we've got a couple here.
All right.
This first one comes from Matt. I'm going to go with A Bear, Hebert, A Bear. That's what I'm going with. Matt A Bear, who says, this is a good one. What bar/restaurant is a must visit for OU fans when we have a future road game in Columbia?
Ooh, that is a good one. They have a lot of good places because it's like the capital or whatever. So there's a lot of good places, but I'd have to go with, my go-to was always this place called Home Team Barbecue. And you got to get the wings, and you dip them in this Alabama white sauce, and those things are to die for. They're really good. And then the Kingsman is like the place I would go to. They got burgers and steak, and place is good.
Nice. Is campus there downtown? Is it like more in the middle, like in the city, than kind of like Norman is? I don't know, smaller area.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. They got like, the campus is in the city. It's like more spread out than Norman, and then you got the city, and then you got a couple other like Vista places, and then downtown. It's really cool there.
I look forward to visiting it in the future. Okay, this last one comes from @DrummerDad1064.
He's gonna have a good question. I can feel it.
I'm sure there's a origin story of that Twitter handle, but he asks, what did you miss most about Norman that you're excited to get back to?
Just being in that stadium and like knowing what it means to me, and like being around the guys and playing for this university that like I graduated at and have like pride for. Like, I didn't like take that into account when I left, and I didn't know how much I'd miss it, but I'm just super excited to be back.
I was really hoping he'd just be like Sugars, you know?
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
yeah.
Which, by the way, it's not there anymore, Stogner. I'm sorry, man. I know.
Don't tell him that yet. Wait till he's like,
wait till I'm enrolled.
He's already moved things in. We're fine, Ted. We're fine. Well, man, hey, we're pumped that you're coming back. It sounds like you're pumped as well, man, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun last year for you, man. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm really glad that guy's coming back.
Yeah, we need him big time. We need that experience. We need his size, which, that's the one thing we forget is like Brayden Willis had such a good year. Stogner's way bigger than Brayden Willis. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're just different players, but having that size in the passing game, dude, 6'6", has great reach. That's going to be big for Gabriel in the passing game.
And I think there are some OU fans out there that were hurt that he left. And I hope they feel a lot better after hearing him talk about how much OU means to him. I know that made me warm and fuzzy inside hearing him say that stuff, because that's how I feel about OU still all of these years later after being done playing. So that was really cool, man.
Yeah, I think so too. To hear him say that, watching them have the struggles, he felt like he should have been there. I think that's pretty cool. And the fact that he's following through on it and coming back, I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I love how simple it was. Yeah, I don't need the sales pitch. I'm coming. Right. That's awesome. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first,
football time in Oklahoma, people. There's nothing better to drink at the tailgate than Clubby Seltzers. Clubby Seltzers is an Oklahoma company that is already winning national awards because their product is delicious. It tastes exactly like a club special, but it's a seltzer. And they're not just for tailgating either. They're perfect to drink on the golf course, by the pool, after mowing the lawn, whatever. If you haven't tried Clubby Seltzers yet, go grab some. You won't regret it. Clubby's first variety pack is out. Got some new flavors, got a new can. To find a place near you that has Clubbies, visit clubbyseltzers.com.
And attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at Insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Well, for right now, it's Argentina. Argentina is in the World Cup final. Got past Croatia 3-0. After that, they dropped that game early on to Saudi Arabia. Everyone thought, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster, but they battled back. They've made their way into the final, awaiting to see who wins the Morocco and France game. But Messi has a chance to close it out, get a World Cup victory, and kind of cap off, a lot of people's view that he's the best ever. And if he pulls off the World Cup victory, he'll be, I think, at the rightful spot, perhaps.
That was a beatdown.
Yeah.
Looked like a mismatch. Watched pretty much the entire thing. First of all, penalties, man, what a severe penalty for some of those fouls in the box. Like where they're not even like trying to shoot her. It's just, you got to be really careful in the box as a soccer player, or else you hand them a goal, man. It's brutal.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing with pass interference in the end zone, right? If you interfere in the end zone, you're not necessarily giving them a touchdown, but odds are stacked heavily against you.
Yeah, I will say Messi, that's the type of penalty I like. He just hammered that thing.
Yep.
Don't give me all the indecisive, like pitter patter. So just walk up there and hammer that thing. And that was, he ripped it. And then that fancy footwork before that pass. Whew, that's good stuff, man. I don't know how that little dude does that. That's incredible.
France in the final?
I would assume.
Yeah.
I mean, that game's, we are recording this in the morning. So that game's about an hour 1
away.
p.m. Yeah, about an hour away or 2 hours away. So we'll see. I am not a soccer aficionado. I assume France is heavily favored in that matchup. So I would expect an Argentina-France final. Now, if Morocco makes it to the final, also an incredible story, right? Just an incredible story. So we'll see, but I'm expecting Messi v. Mbappe, baby. Let's go. Yeah. Those are like two of the four soccer players I know. Come on.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's going to be great. I think, obviously everyone's going to watch anyways, but I think Argentina, France would be big time. But hey, we'll see. Messi's got a chance to cement his legacy Sunday, right?
Yeah. Or maybe it'll be Alvarez. That was the guy who had the coast to coast. First of all, great play by him, but come on, Croatia. We gotta step the defense up. You're supposed to be a defensive squad. What are we doing? Right? You can't let a guy do that to you. Come on.
If you need to, horse collar him, right? I mean, that's what
exactly.
Whatever you've got to do to save the goal. Yeah, that was wild.
All right, who do you have as your loser of the week?
Oh man, I had to go with Kyler Murray. Right out of the gate, Monday Night Football, non-contact, looked awkward, and I guess a lot of people didn't know or hopeful, but MRI test revealed that it is, in fact, a torn ACL for Kyler Murray. Now, I think he'll be able to bounce back. I do, but I will say that, I always believe that once you cut the body, it's never the same again. I think he'll still have his athleticism and his speed, but I think it'll go to show that if you don't have that, quarterback becomes a little bit more difficult. Like he's got a trump card that no one else really has with his escapability and his speed and athleticism. So I'm hoping that everything goes well and he's able to make a full recovery and be able to put that in his past and move on and look like the same exact guy. But it's just never a guarantee. That's the harsh reality.
Yeah. And when it happened, we all knew what had happened, right? It was the classic, oh no. And I think one of the big challenges, I know it was, now I hate having to do this. I'd like to formally welcome Kyler Murray into the Torn ACL Club. Welcome, Kyler. We didn't want you, but we got you now. So welcome, buddy. But one of the hardest parts is getting to the point where you trust your leg. And with how dynamic of an athlete he is and how big of a part his legs are when it comes to the way that he plays the quarterback position, that it's going to be interesting to see how long that takes for him to trust himself to do the thing where he, runs around for 12 seconds and buys time and then just takes off. Like I have all the faith in the world that he's going to bounce back physically, but the mental component can be challenging for anyone that tears a knee, especially a guy of his caliber. But it's been a rough year for Kyler, man.
I was about to say, it's not coming at a good time for him. Like one of the things, like if things are going well and it happens, it's incredibly disappointing, but it gives you that motivation, right, to bounce back from it. But things just haven't been good. It's been frustrating.
Well, when you think about it, it all started with the contract, right?
Yeah.
Which is, and it's crazy to say that he's had a tough year when he signed a $230 million contract.
That's true.
But with what was it, like just shy of 190 million guaranteed, but he didn't even get to really celebrate it because the story wasn't the contract. It was the study clause. Mm-hmm. Remember? So he had to come out and that became a massive story. And then Arizona took it out and it kept being a story. And then I think he got COVID during training camp. And then it just, they're 4-9. And now he's got a torn ACL. Like it's hard to say the guy's had a rough year when he signed that contract, but it's not been the celebration of a season that you would imagine it should be like for a guy when he signs a life-altering deal like that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like public opinion on him kind of changed with the scrubbing of the social media move, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So like the fans kind of turn. It's like, man, it doesn't seem like this guy is, I don't know. It hasn't felt like the same since then. And
it did not play well.
No. And, which has brought a spotlight on him for getting upset on the sideline. And whenever guys are, everyone's trying to win. I mean, it's an emotional place where guys are, angry, motivated, trying to do whatever they can to win. And it's just framed poorly on him every time it happens. Right. So.
Yeah. Like Tom Brady yelling at his head coach is one thing. It's just going to be perceived different than Kyler yelling at Cliff like he did. Right. Yep. With the struggles that they've had. And I don't think Patrick Peterson, who is one of the most well-respected guys in the league, coming out and saying, all Kyler cares about is Kyler, like that didn't help anything either. And I know that Kyler Murray addressed that and responded to it. And it sounds like those guys have talked since then, but that didn't help anything. That just put more fuel on that fire, man.
Totally agree. Yeah. So all of that, I hate it for him, but hopefully this, this sparks something in him where he really wants to get back out there, refocus, put in the work, put in the rehab, and I hope it all goes well for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was unfortunate to see, but I got full faith in him to bounce back and be stronger than he ever was. We'll see how it goes for him, but I know this. NFL football is more fun when he's out there on the field.
No doubt.
And we'll see how long it takes him to bounce back. That's also part of this conversation. Like, with that contract in hand, don't need to be in any rush to get back until you feel 100% confident in that leg. So if he has to miss a couple of games to start the season next year, then that's what you got to do. But I'm sure he will rehab like a madman. So that's a bummer, though. All right, for my winners and losers, let's just talk about Mike Leach, man. But first,
First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank with First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information.
And if you're a whiskey or bourbon drinker, stop what you're doing. Head to your favorite liquor store and buy some Balcones products. You got to grab some Balcones Lineage Single Malt Whiskey. It was voted one of the top 20 whiskeys in the world by Whiskey Advocate, and you'll be shocked by how affordable it is. Also, you got to snag some of Balcones Baby Blue Corn Whiskey.
It's made from blue corn. That's the fancy corn.
And that is why it has won more than 25 awards. Last but certainly not least, you got to buy some of Balcones Pot Still Bourbon. Its big flavors make it the perfect bourbon to drink year-round. Remember, in 2012, Balcones Single Malt won the Best in Glass competition, beating brands like Johnny Walker and Macallan. This stuff is the real deal, people. If you love great whiskey and bourbon at a great price, then Balcones products are the only way to go. The whiskey may be made in Texas, but the owners are from Oklahoma. To find a liquor store that has it, visit balconesdistilling.com. All right, I figured that, we just take this time to talk about Mike Leach. Passes away after a massive heart attack at the age of 61. And damn it, man. College football, he's one of the guys that just made college football special. He made it different than any other sport. I think a lot of people just loved him for the peculiarities, man. Just truly one of one. Loved him for his humor, his wit, but don't get it twisted. Like he is a man that played the major role in changing the way that football is played offensively. And as a result of it, how defenses have to play. And what a tremendous impact he had on the sport as a whole, not just college football, but at every level. You see Mike Leach's imprint on this game. And it sucks that he's gone, man. Brutal.
Just a different personality. And like a lot of, especially in football is really driven by it's like work. A lot of the personalities are kind of the same. It's like a repetition. It's a routine driven system. It's also driven by like who you know, and right. Every now and then you have people that totally upset the apple cart, right? And do their own thing. And that's typically, and it doesn't matter if it's football or business or whatever it is, you have people that think differently, that do not follow like the typical guidelines of how something is supposed to go. And a lot of times that's where the greatest innovation comes from. And Mike Leach is a walking story of that. You know, if you just think about like how impactful he is, he coached 1 year at OU. 1 year, they went 7-5. And I'm not talking about since his death, like previously, throughout that entire time, he's been treated as if he, you know, was the offensive coordinator on the national championship team and was at Oklahoma for a decade. He was here 1 year, but that's how impactful he was. And it's incredible. It really is. And, you know, I love the quirkiness and I love all the stories. Don't get me wrong. I think that's the one of the best parts about him, but I don't want it to take away or trivialize like what he has meant to modern football. And that's exactly what you're saying. I don't know that there's anyone that's had more impact on modern football than Mike Leach at all levels, NFL, college, and high school.
I completely agree. And I mean, you know, with what he was doing with Hal Mummy, like the guy was a revolutionary, right? And he not only did he change schematics, right? You know, you can go through the staples of the air raid, right? 4 verticals, mesh, like all that stuff, right? But I truly believe he inspired coaches to think outside of the box. He inspired coaches to take some more risks, to try different things, because that's what he did, right? Like he was willing to say, no, like I believe in this. This is what I'm going to do. And I think that's extremely admirable. And that it doesn't only apply to football. I think it applies to the way that he lived his life. I have always had a great respect for Mike Leach, and he recruited me. I've had some, 38-minute one-question conversations with Mike Leach on the phone as a 17, 18-year-old kid, where I'm going, what is this dude talking about? Like Blackbeard, Geronimo, like what is happening right now? But I respect people so much that are unapologetically themselves.
Yep. That
they do it differently. They do it the way that makes them happy. They lean into what they're interested in, and they don't really care if, what other people think about it. Like that's one of the reasons I always enjoyed Mike Leach, because he was always, even as weird, different as he was, like he was just always himself. And I think that a lot of us wish we could live life exactly like that. I mean, he was doing that while being a football coach. Like it's just so different, man. It was always so refreshing.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's I mean, and that's why it's had such the huge impact that it has the last couple of days, right? Is because a lot of people, it's hard to imagine college football without Mike Leach. Like you always know that Mike Leach is playing somewhere and there's something's going to happen from it. And, just a constant source of entertainment, man. The guy is second to none. And I keep seeing all these crazy stats. I saw one this morning. He has 3 seasons where his team averaged over 470 passing yards a game. And there's only been 2 other seasons in the history of college football where that's happened. And he's done 3 of the 5. So it's just, there's all kinds of stuff like that. Like what he did at Oklahoma whenever he first got here that first year, they took our scoring from 16 points a game the previous year to 39 points a game in 1999. It's just incredible for a 1-year turnaround. Awesome.
And that staff still to this day gives him a ton of credit for the national championship in 2000.
Yeah.
Because Mangino Now, it wasn't completely his offense. Like there were some changes, but all the stuff that Leach ran that worked, they were like, we're keeping it. Like, and so they've always given him a ton of credit. And then he took Texas Tech to the highest point it's ever been at. Right? That 2008 team, like that's the best team they've ever had, ever. Yeah. And he established a level of consistency that Tech has been searching for ever since that weird ending, right? And he took Washington State. I mean, what was that, 2018?
Game away from the playoff.
Yeah. That was the best thing. I believe their only 11-win season ever at Washington State. So, like, I know a lot of people will remember him, and I'm glad, right? Because we all have these moments, and like we still have the press conferences and stuff to laugh, like, because he was just such a different guy. But you're right, man. I hope that doesn't overshadow just how good of a coach he was.
Yeah.
And that's why there are all these clips going around on social media, right? There's the one of him, where he's the weatherman in Lubbock. It's just so funny. The fat little girlfriend's rant is an all-timer, right? Him talking about the Pac-12 mascots and who would win a melee, like that whole thing. Advice on weddings, like there's so many good clips, but there's one clip that I have always loved of Mike Leach, and it's 2009. It's the season after they had that great season 2008. They've lost some games earlier in the season, and they beat Baylor. And and remember, this was after they beat Baylor in 2009. He just goes off. I mean, goes off. Talking about how guys on that team think that they did what the guys last year did. He's just talking. Oh, and he's dropping F-bombs left and right. And it's just like, that's Mike Leach. It's like, for all the funny, goofy, all that stuff, like that's the hardcore coach that took Texas Tech to its highest point ever. Like that's the guy that took Washington State. Like that's him as a coach. Like that's him putting it all out there and letting everyone know, like, hey, yeah, I may be goofy and a little different, but like I get after my guys. And that's, everyone's always talking about, like, he is brutally honest. That's my favorite Mike Leach thing ever, because it lets you know, like, yes, behind all the goofiness, there was this hardcore football guy that was extremely demanding, and that's why he was so successful.
Yeah, it's funny. That clip is funny because in the beginning of it, everyone's like laughing.
Yeah,
because they think he's joking. They think he's joking, but it doesn't take very long before everyone like gets real quiet and just kind of stands there. I love it. I still, anytime someone says to me, like, I just hear the phrase last week.
Oh my
all
gosh.
I think of is, that wasn't this week. That was last blanking week. And he says it like 10 times in a row. It's so funny. Because what did they beat? Did they beat OU the week before?
Yeah, that was my redshirt year. We wore the Nike Pro Combat jerseys in Lubbock. Now, I did not make the trip. I was redshirting. Also didn't get one of the cool jerseys. But yeah, we they got us back for the year before.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that's one of my favorites too. I saw a new one this week of him doing a belly flop into the pool there at Mississippi State. That was pretty cool. There's all kinds of stuff. There's an old one of him talking about like accuracy with quarterbacks. That's hilarious.
Where it's like, have you heard the one about him where he's talking about, taking like track guys and making them wide receivers?
No.
He's basically like, well, I believe that if you fire enough projectiles at a human being, they'll learn to catch. It's so good, man.
It's awesome. Love that dude.
But the coaching tree, I know a lot of people have pointed it out, but I mean, Heupel, Lincoln Riley, Cliff Kingsbury, Sonny Dykes, Dave Aranda, Holgerson, Seth Luttrell, Art Briles, Neil Brown, our boy Beadenbow, Grinch, Robert and I, like Ruffin McNeil, like it just goes on and on and on. And I just think that it's hard to think that anyone, like you said, Ted, it's hard to think that anyone's had a larger effect on how football is currently played than Mike Leach. I mean, he changed the sport, and that's why they got to change the rules of the Hall of Fame to let him in, man. That's so that, what is he at 59.6% winning percentage? You have to have 60. That's the threshold.
Oh, really?
That's dumb as hell. So when he's had the impact that he's had on the game as a whole and on the programs, like taking them to their highest level ever, like what is more Hall of Fame worthy than that?
I don't know. Some teams need to gather together and figure out who needs to do it, but vacate some wins against Mike Leach teams to where he gets to that winning percentage. And I hope that throughout the bowl season that teams across the country pay tribute to him. I know Tyler, the guy I do my show with, said that OU should line up in the ninja formation first play of the game. And Kel Gundy said everyone in college football should line up in ninja first play of the game on offense, or whether it's a sticker on the helmet, whatever. Just awesome.
Yep. And I love that Mississippi State is playing in the bowl game. Illinois, that is not a fair situation for that football team right there, having to play Mississippi State after all this in the ReliaQuest Bowl. But I think it's only fitting. Going to be in the Buccaneers Stadium down there at Raymond James Stadium. Going to be a big old pirate ship firing cannons off the entire game. So
yep.
It's perfect, man. It's hard to believe we're not going to get any more of, the sound bites from Mike Leach. That was, he was the gift that kept on giving, right? For guys that do radio for a living. But man, what a legacy he's left.
Yep. Without a doubt. You hit on the coaching tree. The amazing thing about that coaching tree, and you mentioned a lot of the big names. There's a lot more than that. You got Graham Harrell. You got all kinds of guys. That coaching tree is going to go on for a long, long time and continue to grow. So
yeah,
awesome.
What a legacy. What I will. I think a lot of college football fans just going to sincerely miss him being him and just how different he was. But just a bummer, man.
Yep.
Bummer.
I agree.
On that note, episode 275 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop. We got to decide if we're doing it Tuesday night because we got a jam-packed Wednesday next week, friend.
Yeah.
We got signing day TV. We've got, pregame show TV. We'll figure it out. What, Tuesday night, maybe?
Tuesday night, perhaps. Maybe we can squeeze it in Wednesday. We'll just have to see what the schedule looks like.
All right. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 3 to 6 on 94.7 The Ref. You can hear me from 2 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.